Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back. Just got back from the gym and I decided it is time to give you guys a video. It's been a while and man, I'm thinking this one is gonna be something a little different. Usually with my stories that I give you, it's usually like 15 minutes long, if not multiple parts. So I think I've been sort of breezing through all the little stories that had an impact on me and what I remember from my time in the Marine Corps. I just never tell them because they're only like 2-minute long stories. So I think I'm gonna go and tell you some of them. Some are gonna be weird, some are gonna be gross, a lot of gross ones. But they're all things that, again, these are the things that I thought about 3 years down the road, where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that happening, and it just comes to mind. So obviously it needs to be said. Let's get into it. The first story I'm going to tell you is, oh shit, now I have to choose which story I'm going to start with. I have like 10 of them written down, like I said. How about the camel spider? Alright, so the first time, and actually the only confirmed time that I ever saw a camel spider was in Southern California, 29 Palms, of course. And what ended up happening with this one is we ended up going to the range, and I was the crew that was going to be setting up all the targets beforehand. And so we went there, and I remember the night, because we had to go a night early, so then we spent the night over near, just in the middle of the desert next to this range. And there's only probably like a platoon of us, less than a platoon, so like 20 guys or so. Anyway, I had Firewatch, so I woke up, and it was about an hour into the night. I had my Firewatch hours, so I had to wake up. I was like, oh, thanks, Firewatch, thanks for waking me up and shit. I started getting everything on. I turn on my light and I see this shadow of a spider, right? So I stand up and I'm like, did you guys see camel spiders around? What the fuck? So I start walking towards it because I'm like, no, there's no way this is a spider. And it fucking dashes into the distance. I'm like, holy fuck. Oh, and I'm terrified of spiders, guys. And it was just darkness everywhere. All you could see was just the outline to the mountains way in the distance. It's just desert everywhere, just a bunch of rocks and sleeping Marines. And it was really hot out, so a lot of the Marines didn't even sleep on anything except for they just slept underneath the stars. They didn't sleep in their sleeping bags or their bivy sack, which just keeps the bugs out because it was so hot. So it freaking dashes out in the distance, and I was like, fuck. And I was like, it was 10 feet away from our guys. And what they do, apparently, this is what I've heard from the rumors, is they'll go up to sleeping guys and they'll freaking chew on them while they're sleeping. And they got this anti-feeling agent in their fucking jaws, and they'll just tear a part out of you, and then they'll run off, and then you'll wake up with a big bruise, and you're like, oh. And yeah, that's what I've been told. Those are the stories I've heard, and it kind of makes sense that they were right next to us because they're probably trying to feast on somebody. But luckily, I got up right in the nick of time, and it freaking dashed into the distance. But so once it dashed into the distance, I was like, there's no way that was a fucking camel spider. But it was so fast, guys. It was 10 miles per hour. So I go chasing after it with my red lens. I can't turn on the white lens to go and see exactly what it is, just the red lens. And I freaking start going towards it. I'm like, yeah, I was over here. And then behind this rock, it freaking dashes off again into the darkness, way out there. And I was like, oh my god, that's freaky. Only time I ever saw a camel spider, really scary. But yeah, that's gonna be the first story I tell you. Second story. Oh geez, let's just stay on the spider topic. Why not? It's right underneath the spider that almost climbed up onto my arm that Shaker beat down with a stick. So there was this guy in my boot camp platoon and ITB named Shaker. He ended up getting out early. Whatever. He was one of my good friends. He was the rack next to me in boot camp, and we ended up getting tied up for the day land navigation in ITB. And the night one, but this one is during the day. So we were just doing our land navigation in North Carolina, and there's these freaking, I've tried so hard to find pictures of it online, but I can't. But just imagine a spider that with its legs all drawn out, it's about the size of my hand. I've got small hands, granted, but still, it's about the size of my hand, with its legs all out and shit. And they're red, and they've got these weird feely legs, and it's really fucking weird. And they put these webs up that are 10 feet long. So from tree to tree, they'll have this single strand and then a giant circular web, a giant one. And they're just smack dab in the middle, just usually freaking crawling about and shit. Ugh, it gives me chills just thinking of it. I hate spiders, guys. And anyway, those things are everywhere, including black widows. But this is the one I'm talking about. Now, again, with there's that single strand that you can't see. and like it's just like going. There's about a 5-foot distance from the giant web to that, and it's giving me chills, dude, just thinking about it. Fuck. Now I gotta look around, see if any spiders are next to me. You guys ever do that? Damn it. Anyway, let's get on to it. So I ended up we were talking about his girl back home and how he wants to go and fuck her and shit. I don't know why that was the topic, but it was, just being honest. And I freaking, I'm being distracted and I'm like trying to, find the spot where our land navigation told us to be. I run into the web and I was like, oh man, it hits my neck or whatever. And I started like taking off or whatever. And I was like, oh, it was just a single strand, so it wasn't a big deal to me. But then I look to my left and the fucking thing is floating in the air with the rest of his web and it's crawling down. Oh, it's crawling down that single line straight towards me. It's about 5 feet away and it's going fast as fuck. And he sees that, I'm like, Shaker! And he freaking picks up a stick and he whacks it down. Whacks the web down. Guys, I don't know if you can see this, but I got fucking goosebumps everywhere. Down the back of my neck. He freaking snaps it down right in the nick of time, right before it reaches me. And then it's on the ground, and I don't even have time to go and look for it on the ground. I just freaking dart off with him. I'm like, oh my god, that was freaky, dude. And he's like, dude, I fucking hate spiders. And god damn it, I hate spiders. Sorry, I keep cussing, guys. I'm gonna try and work on that, but still, this was a very intense time. Let's go for a gross one. Okay. Well, actually, staying with the spiders. I'll get into the cockroach story later, but speaking of spiders, also in the nighttime, imagine this: you can't see anything. You can't have your white lens on at all. They frown upon you using your red lens as well. So when you're doing the night land navigation in North Carolina, and you can't see anything, and you're in this, like, I'm not even kidding, jungle-like territory, and you're walking through this thing, and you're trying to find your coordinates and stuff. It's like a terrifying thing because you see all the spiders and you see all the shit that's just there during the day, and then at nighttime you can't see any of it, so you just gotta keep walking, you just gotta keep trucking along. So like, we were walking through, it's night land navigation. I had this smart idea that I was like, okay, Shaker, in order to get through this as soon as possible, I'm gonna be the point man, we're gonna go through this fucking forest right in front of us. It's a 300 yards distance, there was a swamp in the middle of it, I didn't know at the time. And then that way we can have more time to actually find our coordinates instead of taking the long road. It'd be like a 10-minute walk. So we just go through right off the bat, we go through there. I'm the point man. He's terrified of spiders. I am too. But I'm like, look, if I'm volunteering to go and do this stuff, and I think this is gonna be the best, I'm gonna lead it. So we end up going through there, and I end up running into a web, about 100 yards into it, and I was like, oh my god, run! And I was like, I just need to get out of here as fast as possible. So I'm like, all right, run! And he's falling right behind me. He can't even see me, and I'm just like, he's just following the sound of my footsteps, and I'm just going forward. And then I hit the swamp area that's going up to my, a little bit past my boots, like not up to my knees though, but it's a swamp. And I'm just like running through there, and I'm just hitting more webs on the way, and I'm like terrified, guys. I'm hitting bushes. I'm going in bushes, which probably have like the nastiest things in there. And I'm freaking going along. I'm like, oh my god. And there comes a point, okay, I promise. There comes a point where you're like, screw it, That was that point for me. I was like, look, I probably have about 10 of those spiders on me. I don't care anymore. It is what it is, right? So I'm just like, I'm getting out of there as fast as possible. He's right behind me. And I'm like, and then we paused because I thought we had ran, 300 yards, but we still weren't there. And I paused. I'm like, Shaker, brushed me off and stuff. And I'm like brushing myself off. He's brushing me with me. It was freaky, guys. And I end up looking through my night vision. I'm trying to see anything, and there's just it has no depth perception. There's barely any light, so the night vision doesn't even work anyway. And I'm just looking around, like, God, we're alone in here, aren't we? Like, where the fuck are we? And he's like, dude, we should probably just turn back. I'm like, no, we gotta finish it. And then I was like, and he was like, okay, you know what? I'll finish it with you, but we're gonna turn on a red lens for this. Like, I'm tired of this shit. So we turn on a red lens. And as soon as we turn on our red lens, we hear some guys about 50 yards away from us. They had the same plan. There's 150 of us in this forest, but only 4 of us decide to go through the forest, the jungle portion. And they're like, hey, you with the red lens. And we're like, yeah, come over here. And we start converging, and we're going through all these bushes and trees. and we end up like once we're like 5 feet away from each other is when we can actually see each other. But then we all the red lens, and they're like, all right, we're almost to the road. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. He's like, all right, let's go. And we go 50 more yards, and we're at the road, at the other end of the jungle, and we were so happy at that point. I'm still brushing myself off, but scary times, guys, scary times. And the last story I'm going to tell you, I mean, actually, those are all the spider stories. I mean, okay, there was one more spider story. When I saw a Black Widow, 29 Palms again. I don't know why Black Widows live there, but kind of weird. I didn't know they were desert creatures until this day, which we were just in the field, of course. I'm on fire watch once again, and I got up. I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to put on my glasses. You know, it probably doesn't even matter. I'm just going to put on my lens. I'm just going to walk around, walk the perimeter for an hour. And there's this building in the middle. I remember there's this building, and everybody was just sleeping in this big line of platoons. And I ended up just walking around the building. And when I walked around the building, I saw a bunch of coyotes. And, okay, this is going to be a little story. I mean, this one, it wasn't like anything crazy, I suppose, but I just remember the coyotes. There was like 4 of them. And I put on my red lens, and you can just see the red, or I think it was like yellow eyes or red eyes. But like they're blending in with the desert, and it's all dark out. But when you shine the lens, their eyes bright, become all bright, and they're looking at you, and it's really weird. Yeah, they ended up giving us live rounds for that particular one, just to go and patrol around, and in case the coyotes would nip on anybody. But luckily, they didn't nip on anybody while I was out there. But I remember when we were walking back, from the perimeter. I stopped to see this web that I saw on my lens that was underneath the building, and I freaking look at it or whatever, and it's next to the MREs, and I was like, oh, that's a little weird that we have our MREs next to this web, and I looked closer and whatever, and there's a freaking Black Widow, this big ass Black Widow, just like in this web underneath the freaking building that we would be taking classes in IDs and minesweepers and stuff. That's what we were doing, and I remember. That was a little weird, but what was even a little weirder was that I didn't think anybody was watching us. It's like the middle of the night or whatever, and then after I'm done with my shift, I go back to my sleeping bag. I wake up the next fire watch and I go to bed. The next morning, we were getting the class in the morning inside the building, and then we went out to the bleachers that were right outside it. Again, there's bleachers for some reason out in the field sometimes. And we were sitting in the bleachers, and my staff sergeant, he was like, "All right, we have some guys who were messing around with MREs last night." And I was like, "Oh, like who could that be?" And he's like, "I know it's from this watch to this watch." I was like, I was thinking in my head like, "Oh, it's me." And he was looking directly at me. He was like, "Yeah, they were stealing the MREs. I'm not going to call out their names, but you guys know who you are, and anybody." Just like make sure not to steal the MREs. Don't take advantage of your unit and stuff. When you're alone, somebody's always watching. But I was thinking in my head, I didn't steal MREs. Like he's talking about me because he was talking about my shift, and I was watching all my buddies too. I got them over for the freaking for the spider that was underneath next to the MREs. But we weren't like trying to ravage the MREs. I was like, there's a spider. So afterwards, after he calls me out and like calls us out. Okay, first of all, I love the staff sergeant. He was actually our teacher in ITB, but he ended up joining my unit. He's like badass. He's been in for 12 years, scout sniper, like crazy guy. And anyway, after he gives us that talk, and he's like, after the whole company, he's like, all right, you guys are dismissed. Get a little meal in you. Let's get some good training in today. And after everybody disperses, I go up to him and I was like, hey, I know you were talking about I was the fire watch out there. I didn't know if you knew it was me. And he's like, yeah, I knew. And I was like, look, I'm not trying to get anything out of this. I'm not trying to cover my ass. I know that you weren't trying to, get me bad or whatever, but I wasn't stealing anything. Like, there's a spider right there next to it, and I saw the web, and I got everybody over to go and see the web. And I was like, look, again, I'm not trying to, I promise you I didn't do anything. Just man to man. This isn't for anything. I don't want you to announce it to anybody. Just I didn't steal anything. It was just a spider. I can show you it. And he's like, oh no, it's good. And then he just ended at that. I don't know why, but this was a guy I really looked up to, and he thought that I was stealing MREs, so that sucked. That story was kind of a bigger one, but yeah, just random things from the Marine Corps. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stories. Again, I've got a bunch more that I've written down, but just can't get into it in one video. I hope you enjoyed this though. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment as well. What kind of stories you'd like to hear from? Obviously, I've got stories from a lot of different things, but if you want to know what rappelling's like, if you want to know what hiking, tips for hiking, I know a lot of you were asking for that, which I touched on in the past. But any comments on what you'd like to see next? Give it a like, give it a subscribe if you really enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.